A 72-year-old woman sat across from me. Her eyes avoided mine, her hands clasped tightly together, as if she were trying to hide something shameful. "Doctor, I didn't know I was hurting myself." In that moment, I knew I had to speak up, because she was not alone. I am Dr. Evelyn Carter. 3 decades of working with women over 60 have taught me one undeniable truth. There are silent mistakes happening behind closed bedroom doors, habits that seem harmless, yet a quietly numb sensation, thin, delicate tissues, and slowly harden emotions over the years. You've been told that self-pleasure is healthy. But what if I told you how you do it matters more than you think? The truth is this: millions of women are unintentionally harming themselves, simply because no one ever taught them how to care for their bodies properly after 60. In this video, I will reveal 5 serious mistakes older women often make when it comes to self-pleasure, and how to correct them before they quietly erode sensation, moisture, and even your connection to your own body. And mistake number 4? It's the one almost every woman makes. Before we dive into the details, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. All right, let's begin. Secret number 1. Arousal is no longer the whole story. I used to believe that sexual arousal defined womanhood, that if you no longer felt wet, no longer trembled the way you did in your 20s, it meant you were slowly exiting the world of intimacy. But after more than 3 decades as a gynecologist, witnessing thousands of stories from women over 60, I've come to understand a deeper truth. This is not the end. It's a transition. It isn't magic. It's biology. I will never forget the look in Margaret's eyes, a 74-year-old patient, as she whispered, "I don't feel anything anymore. I think my body must be broken." Behind that gaze was a quiet sorrow mixed with shame. And I've heard the same confession countless times, from women who were once vibrant, strong, alive, now confused by their own bodies, quietly panicking over a change they were never prepared for. I wish every woman over 60 knew this sooner. Arousal is no longer the whole story. What they're experiencing is not failure. It's a natural evolution, a new form of femininity. You see, we were raised with a single image of what arousal should look like. The body warming up quickly, natural lubrication as a signal of readiness, and intense sensations as the gold standard. But no one tells you that after 60, this isn't how things unfold anymore. That doesn't mean you've lost yourself. It means your body is asking you to connect differently, with more depth, with more gentleness. Physiologically, this makes perfect sense. As we age, estrogen and progesterone levels drop. Blood flow to the pelvic region decreases. The nerves in that area become less sensitive, and the body responds more slowly. What once took minutes may now take 20, and that is perfectly normal. It doesn't mean you can't feel. It means your body now needs you to listen in a new way. The world you grew up in glorified a single kind of sexual response, equating femininity with effortless readiness and leaving little room for vulnerability. No one pulled you aside to say, pleasure still matters, connection still matters, and you don't need to have the same reaction you had at 25 to experience both. I've treated women who spent years believing they were broken, when all they needed was a new understanding of their body's evolution. What matters now is not speed. It's presence. Not achieving something quickly, but allowing yourself to experience, to explore, to be patient. Femininity is not about whether you can lubricate as easily as you did at 25. It's about whether you are willing to put away the outdated yardstick of youth and still believe you deserve love, touch, and connection. I've treated women who thought they were broken because they couldn't feel anything. Women who believed they had lost something that was never truly gone, only transformed. And months later, with a little patience and understanding, they returned with shy smiles. "Doctor, I feel it again, but it's softer now, more diffused, not as intense as before." And I told them, "Exactly, because now you're listening to your body the right way." But understanding that desire changes, that's only the first step, because there is an even deeper truth most women never hear. Secret number 2. Masturbation is not just about sex. It's about emotion and the nervous system. I remember Margaret, 75, coming in for a routine appointment. No alarming symptoms, no urgent complaints, but I could tell something was wrong the moment I saw her eyes. When I gently asked if she'd been taking care of herself, she froze. Then she dropped a sentence like a blade cutting through the silence between us. "I don't feel anything anymore, doctor. Not just sexually, but about everything." I didn't press. I stayed quiet. And then, slowly, her story began to unfold. She still masturbated almost every night, not out of desire, but because she didn't know what else to do with the weight of her loneliness, because she couldn't sleep, because she went entire days without speaking to anyone. And maybe, just maybe, it was the last act that made her feel like she was still alive. I'm not even sure I do it to feel anything. Maybe I do it to hold on to what little part of me hasn't completely disappeared. In over 30 years as a physician, I've heard many heartbreaking confessions. But that sentence, I wish no woman ever had to say it in isolation. And here is a truth I wish more older women knew sooner. Masturbation is not dangerous. In fact, it can be one of the most powerful forms of self-care you have left. After orgasm, your body releases dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, chemicals that help you sleep more deeply, think clearer, and feel more connected. For women who live alone, it can be the only way their body hears, "I'm still here. I still feel." The danger isn't in the act itself. It's in how you do it. When it becomes unconscious, disconnected, a reflex to fight loneliness, when it stops being an act of connection and becomes a hollow ritual to pass time. I've met too many women like Margaret, polite, quiet, resilient, carrying a nameless sorrow deep inside. No one ever taught them that touching themselves was normal. Instead, they were raised to believe desire was shameful, self-care was selfish, and silence was virtue. So they masturbate in the dark, not because they are wrong, but because they have spent a lifetime apologizing for their own feelings. But you need to hear this right now. You are not wrong, and you are not alone. What you're doing does not need judgment. It needs to be given back its meaning. Masturbation, when done with gentleness, presence, and self-love, can become a profound act of healing. A doorway back to yourself, not to be young again, but to remind your body and soul, I am still here, I still matter, and I still deserve to feel. And yes, at your age, that matters more than ever. But if you've stopped touching yourself, not because of pain, but because you believe there's no point anymore, then secret number 3 is something you cannot ignore. Because when you stop using it, your body begins to quietly shut down. Secret number 3, the use it or lose it. Rule is real, but often misunderstood. This is a truth I wish every woman over 60 knew sooner. If you stop touching your own body for too long, it doesn't just go to sleep. It quietly shrinks, dries out, and loses its ability to feel day by day without you even realizing it. And by the time you do notice, it's often too late to get everything back the way it was. I remember meeting Evelyn, 73, a gentle woman who had spent her whole life as a seamstress. She came into my office looking confused, her voice barely above a whisper, as if confessing something shameful. "Doctor, I found a new partner, but my body, it doesn't respond anymore. It's silent." She had no idea that what she was experiencing wasn't simply age. It was the result of a decade spent neglecting her own body. Biologically, the female body operates on a very simple principle: use it or lose it. If the vagina and clitoris aren't regularly stimulated, blood flow decreases, vaginal walls become thinner and drier, nerves lose sensitivity, and elasticity fades. Just like muscles weaken when you don't exercise, these tissues shrink when you stop using them. This doesn't happen loudly. It happens quietly, day by day. And tragically, no one warns you it's happening until the sensations are already so faded that you believe something inside you is broken forever. The saddest part is that so many women blame themselves, or chalk it up to just getting old. But the truth is, no one ever taught them otherwise. Their whole lives they were told desire was shameful, self-care was selfish, and silence was a virtue. So they stopped touching themselves, not because they didn't want to, but because they thought it was no longer appropriate. Life dulled their desire. They surrendered, and their bodies silently adapted to that neglect, closing doors that could have remained open with just a little attention. The good news? It's not too late. I've seen countless women like Evelyn reclaim their sensitivity and confidence with small, intentional steps. Gentle, regular stimulation, without pressure or expectation, using lubricants to prevent pain and encourage blood flow. Within weeks, they begin to notice changes, tissues softening, sensation returning. Not all at once, but gradually their bodies remember, and with that, a piece of their self-confidence comes back to life. You need to know this. Use it or lose it is not a threat. It's an invitation, a chance to awaken your body rather than wait for a miracle. Far too many older women believe that if they don't have a partner, their sexual health isn't worth maintaining. That belief isn't just wrong, it's harmful. Masturbation at this stage of life isn't just about pleasure. It keeps your systems active, your tissues healthy, and your body engaged. Your body still wants to respond, if you give it the chance. But even if you are still touching yourself regularly, there's one seemingly harmless habit that may be silently numbing your sexual reflexes every single day. And the frightening part? Most women don't realize it until it's too late. You're going to want to hear this next secret. Secret number 4. Your vibrator may be silently damaging your sexual reflexes, without you even realizing it. There's something I've seen repeat itself countless times in my clinic, and it breaks my heart every single time. Women who believe they are broken because they no longer feel anything when touched by real hands. But the truth is, they aren't broken. Their bodies have simply been forced to adapt. I think of Lillian, 69, divorced for 15 years. She came to me with trembling hands, her voice carrying both shame and desperation. I still masturbate, but I can't feel anything with my own hands. Only that vibrator makes me feel alive. She cried as she said this, not because she used a vibrator, but because she felt disconnected from her own body. And here's a truth I wish every older woman knew sooner. The issue isn't masturbation itself. It's the level of intensity a vibrator creates. When you use extremely strong vibrations for long periods of time, your nervous system starts to rewire itself to respond only to that powerful, direct stimulus. Gentle touch, whether from yourself or a partner, gradually fades into the background, sometimes no longer even registering in the brain. Lillian described it as if she had listened to music at full blast for years and was now struggling to hear a whisper. This doesn't happen overnight. It's silent, gradual. At first, you only need a mild setting. Then slowly, you need stronger, faster, more intense stimulation, until one day you realize your body has gone quiet to the gentle touches you once cherished. This is not your fault. No one ever told you about this. Your entire life, you were taught to stay silent about your needs. So you stayed silent about how you were numbing yourself. And by the time you notice, many women feel so ashamed that they abandon intimacy altogether. They tell themselves, maybe my time has passed. But no, your time hasn't passed at all. The good news is, your nervous system can relearn. By gradually reducing the strength of the vibrator, returning to gentle touch, deep breathing and presence, Lillian slowly reawakened her body. Not through judgment, but through patience. And what happened next surprised even her. Within just a few weeks, she began to feel again. Sensitivity to gentle human touch returned. I only wish she had started sooner. It could have spared her years of numbness. You need to hear this. The vibrator is not the enemy. It only becomes the enemy when it's the only thing you rely on. When you begin to step away from it, slowly, gently, you'll discover a profound truth. Your body still longs to be loved, and it can learn to feel again, even after decades of silence. Secret number 5. Masturbation can be a lifeline, not a burden. A woman named Helen once sat across from me during a routine checkup. She was 74, her silver hair neatly pulled back, her voice soft yet tinged with hesitation. As the appointment drew to a close, she paused and asked quietly, "Doctor, at my age, am I still allowed to touch myself?" That question stopped me in my tracks. Not because it was unusual, but because I had heard it so many times before. Her voice trembled slightly, as if confessing something shameful. But what Helen didn't know, and what I wish every older woman understood sooner, is that masturbation is not something to hide. At this stage of life, it can be one of the most vital forms of self-care you still have. The truth is, when done with intention and respect for yourself, this act offers far more than sexual release. It strengthens the pelvic tissues by increasing blood flow. It helps maintain the natural elasticity and moisture of the vagina. It reduces stress, lifts mood, and promotes deeper sleep through the calming hormones released after orgasm. But beyond biology, masturbation does something even greater. It reconnects you to the part of yourself that still desires, still holds identity, still wants to feel alive. When Helen's husband passed away, she stopped everything. She believed that chapter of her life had closed. For 6 long years, she didn't allow herself a single moment of pleasure. She admitted, "I thought it was inappropriate. I didn't think I was allowed to still be a woman in that way." That confession stayed with me, because I've heard it echoed by so many other women. We live in a culture that teaches older women to be silent, to shrink, to stop feeling. But that's a cruel myth. Desire doesn't vanish. It simply grows quieter. And if you don't listen, it turns into loneliness. When Helen began reconnecting with herself gently, without pressure, her mood transformed. She slept better. She laughed more. She wasn't chasing youth. She was reclaiming dignity and vitality from within. That is what masturbation can bring in the later chapters of life. Not an escape, but a return. A way of saying, I still matter. If you're hearing these words and feel a pang in your heart, I want you to understand something very clearly. You are not alone. There are millions of women out there just like you who have spent their entire lives caring for families, children, and everyone else around them, and have forgotten that they too deserve to be cared for, loved, and touched with gentleness. Society has taught us to stay silent. It has told us that older women must shrink, that desire is shameful, that once you pass 60, your body no longer matters. But the truth is, that's a cruel lie. Desire doesn't disappear. It simply grows quieter. And if you don't listen, that quiet turns into loneliness, into invisibility, into a hollow space you can never quite name. I want you to know this. Your body is still here. It has never abandoned you. Through loss, through time, through illness or long silences, there is still a part of you longing to feel, to connect, to live. Not to chase youth, but to remind yourself, I still matter. I am still worthy. Start small, no goals, no pressure. Maybe just a few deep breaths, placing your hand on your heart and saying, I'm still here. Let your body know it is still loved, that you are no longer abandoning it. From those tiny steps, something miraculous begins to happen. You feel lighter, you sleep better, you smile more. And most importantly, you rediscover the dignity and vitality that have always been inside you. Don't let anyone convince you that your time has passed. Aging is not the end. It is a new chapter, where you are allowed to live more honestly, love yourself more deeply, and reconnect with the most precious thing of all, yourself. And if you need a reminder to begin today, this is it. It is never too late to come home to yourself. If what I've shared today touches your heart, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every week I'll send you gentle reminders and life-changing insights, so you'll always know it's never too late to love and reconnect with yourself. And if you think a friend, a sister, or another woman needs to hear this, share this video with them. You never know whose heart this small comfort might save.